Yes, the girls are ruling. First of all, I want to say thank y'all. It's great to be here. I'm Brooke Rollins. Came in this morning. We've had an amazing day here in Iowa. We started this morning at an ethanol plant, which was great. Then went to a hog farm, then headed over to a row crop, and now here at Beck. So headed from here to another couple of events, but I really want to squeeze everything in as much as possible. So it's just a joy to be here with your governor, Congresswoman, Mr. Beck from the company here, and your great ag commissioners. So with that, why don't we just open it up?
Any questions?
Yeah. Okay, first, obviously trade is a big discussion right now. Last administration, the Trump administration, there was farmer payments for trade disruptions. If some of these things continue in the next couple of days, will there be more payments, and where could that come from, budget-wise?
Yeah, obviously right now at the front of everyone's, especially the front of our farmers' minds, is what's happening in Washington on the tariff negotiations and the trade. Clearly President Trump, from the minute he came down that escalator in 2015, talked about tariffs as part of his toolkit to realign the American economy around putting Americans first. He has not been shy about that. To your point, your question, obviously in the first administration, there were significant changes made and deals struck, USMCA and obviously around the country, around the world. Those discussions are ongoing at this very minute. As I've been moving around Iowa today, in between each move, I've been on the phone with the White House and people back in Washington. The next announcement, the next phase of announcements will be April the 2nd, which is Wednesday, just a couple days from today. That is the next iteration and the reciprocal trade part of President Trump's vision. To your point, hopefully our farmers and our ag community won't be hurt by, at least in the short term, by these decisions. But if they are, the president's commitment is the same today as it was 5 or 6 years ago. And we at USDA and our partners across Congress and in Washington will work around the clock to ensure that we have the programs in place to do what we did the last time with the CCC, and we fully expect to do the same this time. But to be determined based on what happens in the next weeks and months.
But if I can jump in there
Yes,
with Secretary Rollins, I can tell you all of us in Iowa, all of our farmers and ranchers are very pleased with the announcement that Secretary Rollins are going on trade missions. We had not seen that the past 4 years, 6 countries in 6 months, I think it is, because we know we need to open up more markets.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I do think is important here is in the last 4 years, the cost of inputs have gone up 30% on average for our farmers and our ranchers, but also we have a trade deficit of almost $50 billion that was zero when we left the Trump 1 administration. So there just wasn't the focus in the last administration, and I'm not here to Republican versus Democrat, there just wasn't a focus to expand the markets, and in fact the markets even contracted around the world. I have committed as of Friday to hit 6 different countries personally, taking along my partners from the State Department and from all across the United States government to open markets back up, and in fact to find new markets to sell our great farmers and ranchers goods, going to India, going to Vietnam, going to Peru, going to Brazil, going to the UK, and going to Japan in the coming few months, and that's just to start with. So you'll see a relentless effort around the clock to expand markets across the world for our farmers moving forward.
What are your plans for reduction in force at USDA?
Clearly the president had a vision when he was running that the American people, all the swing states and the popular vote supported, which was a realignment of the government that better reflected the American people. Under the last administration, the expansion of the government, either through COVID programs, but just in general, the IRA, et cetera, was sort of stunning. And as we are looking at that unbelievable expansion of government, taking of taxpayer dollars and expanding our government system, it was just too much. And the president believes very sincerely, and I believe the American people supported that view, both Republican and Democrat, that the federal government needs to realign and better align with the priorities of the American people. You were all seeing that across the government, whether through specific reductions in force or buying out early retirements, et cetera. The president's vision is that we move towards a balanced budget in the coming years, which many people didn't think was possible based on our deficits. But now with a very renewed focus on what is the proper role of the federal government, what that looks like, and then what we can do to, again, better serve the American people. And listen, we've had trillions of dollars that have been announced in the last few weeks of manufacturing coming back on shore, of companies investing significant amounts of money, whether it was auto or steel, whatever it is, that now opens up the private sector. And we saw this in the first Trump administration, which I was a part of in the White House, actually, not out in the cabinet. But we saw an unbelievable job growth like our country had never seen before. Poverty rates lower than in American history for Black, Hispanic, women, for almost all the way across every category. And that was a focus on expanding the private sector, on lifting up free enterprise, on reshoring American jobs. And so the vision isn't that we're putting a lot of people out of work. The vision is that we're realigning our entire economy where the private sector and free enterprise is driving those jobs rather than bigger and bigger government.
I was hoping you could give an update on your 5-pronged strategy for combating the bird flu outbreak. What's the status on that? How are things going?
Well, I really appreciate that. I've been a little bit over 30 days on the job. Almost minute one on the job was the fact that, and hit here in Iowa, perhaps more than any other state. I think Iowa's been hit the hardest by the avian bird flu, and certainly if our friends on, from the big city and the urban areas, if they weren't paying attention to farming before, they sure were now when their cost of eggs under the last administration went up 237%. The average cost of groceries was in the mid 20%, so it's gone up, basically across the board. I'm the mom of 4 teenagers. I can really appreciate this, but eggs had certainly just skyrocketed. And there's a lot of reasons for that. The cost of inputs are up 30%. Lots of rules were passed in the last USDA under President Biden that cost of business going up higher, but the most and the biggest driver was the avian bird flu, which hit our shores in this state particularly hard about 2 years ago and has not let up. So within the first, 14 days of being on the job, we released a 5-pronged strategy to really fight that head on. The first piece of it was biosecurity measures and putting some significant funding into biosecurity, locking our barns down, USDA helping our poultry farmers across this country, but especially in states like Iowa and Ohio and Georgia that have been particularly hard hit. Number 2 was lifting the rules to allow much quicker repopulation of our egg-laying industry, again, to get more chickens in and to get them in faster so that we could begin to get the eggs back into the system and allow our poultry farmers the opportunity to do so more quickly. Number 3 was just a deregulation strategy where we're looking at every rule that increased the cost of business for our poultry farmers across this country, and we've already begun to repeal some of those and pull them back. One that really affects this state was line speed. So we removed the rule or granted another waiver to allow line speeds to speed back up again for pork and poultry to allow them to move more quickly. Number 4 was the importation of eggs from other countries, at least in the short term, to get the cost of eggs down. And then number 5 was a longer term, $100 million focus on vaccine, therapeutic, culling methods, just an all of research approach with our friends in the private sector to figure out how this bird flu had gotten so out of control, why it's jumping to our dairy cattle, and how we need to basically roll it back. So we feel really good. In that time, the cost of eggs has come down, the wholesale cost of eggs almost 58%, as we're seeing some relief for our American consumers. So thank you for that. One more question. Yeah.
Secretary Rollins, you just mentioned Black individuals, Hispanic, women, and yet I recently saw in a post on X where you found some seeds that you called woke seeds that had the words diversity, equity, and inclusion on it. What message does that send to our Black farmers, our gay farmers, Hispanic farmers, women farmers, and for the minority production workers, the immigrants that are at the core of manufacturing? What kind of a message does that send to them? Without immigrants, Iowa's production system, Iowa's agriculture is in trouble.
Listen, this is America. America is based on meritocracy and equality. America is about unification. It's about the American dream. It's about anything being possible if you work hard enough, if you have big dreams, if you have the opportunities. This idea that we're dividing ourselves by what color your skin is and what bathroom you use and whether you're gay and what, none of that matters. This is America. And this is the idea of Donald Trump. This is why he ran. This is why he won fairly significantly, is the American people are tired of that. They're tired of saying, oh, well, you're over there in that category because of this color of your skin. And oh, well, you use the women's bathroom, so you need to be over there. This is all about what has made our country great and moving back to things that unite us instead of dividing us. And so getting DEI out of the USDA and across the federal government is the very top of that priority. So God bless y'all. Thank you. What a great day to be in Iowa. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.